Now, this presentation is about loot boxes in video games and how they're affecting children into developing problematic gaming behavior. This presentation will explain what is a loot box, how they work, what are their mechanisms. Then the history of loot boxes will be briefly explained in detail, including the societal and social economic trends that allow them in video games and computer games. I will explain the policy issues of loot boxes, how they consider gambling for all intents and purposes, but not consider gambling legally in most countries. Finally, how loot boxes are affecting children and why children are participating in buying loot boxes in video games such as Counter-Strike Global Offensive, Overwatch, and NBA 2K2. Also, I will get into the psychological and financial problems with these loot boxes, and possible solutions and my conclusions and findings. Now, what is a loot box? A loot box is an in-game package containing randomized game items that either cosmetic, such as skins for in-game characters, decorations, or firearms, or pay-to-win characters items that improve gameplay. They are a virtual package of virtual goods given to a video game player in exchange for currency, real or fictional, or sufficient gameplay conditions in video games. They're implemented by publishers and game companies to provide options to monetizing games outside of their release dates, after their release date, after they're purchased by the consumer. Loot boxes are not all bad as long as it's implemented properly. The issue is that how loot boxes are implemented, that it can be argued that it's a form of gambling. Loot boxes can be seen and viewed in the following games such as Dota 2, Overwatch, Hearthstone, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, Phantasy Star Online 2, FIFA 2020, where it has FIFA Ultimate Team from EA, Borderlands 2 and Borderlands 3, League of Legends, Fate/Grand Order, Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 5, Crossfire, Destiny 2, Gears of War 4 and Gears 5, Star Wars Battlefront as well. There is a similar function known as gacha, short for gachapon, named as the sound it makes at returning the switch and when the capsule falls into the capsule from the capsule dispenser. Gacha are similar to what you see in toy vending machines in supermarkets and arcades. As you put money or coins and you get a random item or toy. There are forms of free gacha where it involves currency or time you play in the game, but special gacha involving rare or valuable gaming items often need to be obtained through special gacha with monetary purchasing. Gacha are the same structure as loot box. Only difference is that there's several types of gacha according to GERO. There's complete gacha, limited time gacha, step up gacha, box gacha, redraw gacha, consider gacha, open/close gacha, discounted gacha, and Sugoroku gacha. Gachas work the same way as loot boxes according to a research article. Gachas are a key game element within the game, but not in the game itself. Items in gacha mode is paid through using in-game virtual currency, either by soft or hard currency, that is through gameplay or through real money respectively. Gachas is a game of chance is a game of chance base, including advanced chance mechanics and probabilities, which can also change during special in-game campaigns. The experience is often separated from the actual gameplay, uses special animation and sounds for visualization and atmosphere. It always provides a virtual reward in the form of virtual items, characters which play a role in the game, which are available in different levels of rarity limitedness, often collectible, and cannot be redeemed for real money. That means no real money trading. Furthermore, gachas and the virtual item rewards are often combined with real-time in-game event-sized campaigns. Items acquired through the gacha mechanism are only valuable within the game itself, and often are an essential part of the overall game ecosystem. Gacha modes are mostly used to increase monetization for the game provider, which may or may not be reinvested into the game or may be used as pure profit. But I want to tell you how loot boxes work. Loot boxes function by providing the same following mechanisms according to the RM document. Reward design. You have the gambler's fallacy, near misses, losses disguised as wins, illusion of control, and chasing. The main feature of loot boxes is something called random reward mechanisms. A random reward mechanism consists of 3 parts: an eligibility condition, a random procedure, and a reward. Now, for the eligibility condition, a requirement to play has to meet in order to trigger the random procedure. That requirement is the amount of time played, or a key that is purchased with real-life money. The random procedure occurs which can be done with popular measures used in programming. The reward will be anything as like a digital object, in-game currency, new character, skin, weapon, whatever. The way loot boxes are implemented shares several key form features with traditional forms of gambling, according to Zendel. Now, according to the same person, when anyone buys a loot box from any game featured on the list, players are risking the loss of real-world money or time or in-game currency for a chance to obtain a valuable reward. Loot boxes are again linked to problem gambling. Yeah, I was supposed to say that. Now, what is problem gambling? Problem gambling is a pattern where gambling activity reaches a point where it causes serious social and economic problems in the individual's life. Specifically, excessive or involuntary pattern of gambling activity which causes a serious problem in an individual's personal, family, or vocational life. 99% of people who engage in gambling don't experience this, but the 1% do. That 1% are conditioned to these biases and fallacies of gambling that I mentioned that causes them to affect their family life, their finances, school results, employment to a point where it's catastrophic in the long run. Loot boxes, as they are implemented now, share many structural and psychological aspects with regular gambling, and they're creating a right breeding ground for said gambling. This method of microtransactions poses a serious ethical question and moral question for the video game publishers who implement and profit from them. Basically, according to a study, the more gamers that spend on loot boxes, the more severe their problem gambling becomes. Now, where do these loot boxes originate from? They originate from free-to-game freemium games to games that can be purchased at full price and implemented as a form of microtransactions. The original loot boxes came from South Korean freemium social gaming apps for mobile games and free-to-play video games for the PC. The same monetization tactic was adopted by Western game publishers. The loot box trend never got mainstream until it got started in the West with the game Overwatch, published by Activision Blizzard Activision. It is now a lucrative business model, as in 2008 in the West, with the game which is estimated to generate $30 billion in 2008 alone, with a business analyst predicting that this type of monetization will drive a large portion of the revenue generated in the amount of $230 billion in the video game economy by 2022. It's used as a new business model known as the free-to-play business model. It started in mobile games in South Korea and Japan 10 years ago, and has spread to the Western world. When it came to the United States, microtransactions came to the form to direct item purchases. Now, they're in the form of loot boxes, and can be seen in all types of games. It's a trend to be varied because the need for video game publishers to monetize funds as the initial purchase of the game. This is done through a mechanism. Yeah. Let me go on. Now, the result of loot boxes now is that they have the same mechanisms as gambling. This goes to the fact that people can spend real money to get virtual items. When it comes to conventional forms of gambling, a substantial body of research has highlighted that individuals engage in gambling for motivations that go far beyond simply winning money. As a matter of fact, there are several reasons why. Why are several reasons why youth go for gambling in these loot boxes? First is socialization. Socialization is a major role in why people buy loot boxes and participate in the loot box culture. Basically, being with people who share the same mentality or point of view. This is done through 2 ways: through talking to others through text or voice chat, through Twitch or Discord, or through real life physically through LAN parties or other people's houses. Socialization is done by talking about the items or comparing and contrasting the items they got from their friends and peers. This is similar to interactions one person get from a social casino game or in a real casino. Second is amusement. In many cases, it's done to entertainment sales. In some cases, people use loot boxes because they live in certain areas, rural or urban areas, or so obsessed with work or busy with work they have nothing else to do and nothing to do to pass the time. It is done to avoid boredom, as with people in these situations where there's no chance to socialize with the people in the same age or in real life. Here's social community speak. Earning money. Many people use loot boxes and use items to cash out their items by selling their items, or use them to gamble or for more money or better items. This is though many companies such as EA, Electronic Arts, does not condone or encourage these types of activities. Many people who do participate in this culture do. This is done through third-party websites or through the Steam marketplace. Another reason is coping and escaping stress. Loot boxes are done by many people to avoid stress from their lives and to cope with adverse moods. It's a biological mechanism that's caused by the thrilling experience and risk-taking and uncertainty, and the release that gives out when you win a major prize. The intrinsic enjoyment of gambling, raising money, etc., to get the loot boxes and get a reward, gets a rush. They can enjoy a rush, the rush of dopamine and hit of emotions. The fun and excitement and thrills of opening the loot box gives them that rush. Finally, there's a game progression. In games where getting loot boxes are one ways to earn a better items, such as firearms or items, there's one major motivation. People get these items as a way to progress through the game faster. For every player, there is a desire to gain power, progress rapidly, and to accumulate in-game symbols of wealth and status. There are many people who use loot boxes as a way to speed up their progress through the game, or to avoid time spent grinding through time-consuming portions of game content. Now, what are the future trends of loot boxes? Without any legal intervention by the United States Congress or by the Federal Trade Commission, publishers will implement loot boxes of various types to profit, regardless of financial or psychological consequences. Due to the fact that there is no legal regulatory body for the video game industry regarding loot boxes, unlike for the gambling industry, video game companies can change the odds of the prices or the mechanism for any or no reason. There are possible solutions. In Japan and China, they implemented several measures to make loot boxes fair and transparent to regulate them in the consumer protection angle. In China, the Ministry of Culture announced a new regulation towards the implementation and use of loot boxes will apply to loot boxes and gacha type games by viewing it as a consumer protection issue. The regulation requires publishers to keep regular probability rates for the last 3 months. That regulation came into effect in May 2017. In Japan, the Japanese legislature, known as the Japanese Diet, outlawed the practice of complete gacha in 2012. It's argued that with complete gacha, the gambling and the free-to-play business model collided. Some mobile game makers voluntarily display probability rates since the 2012 law. The motivation for the outlawing of the practice is, according to the Consumer Affairs Agency, that this type of practice corrupts the game experience as the system makes it difficult to understand the probability to when it applies. This was done through the law regarding the law for preventing unjustifiable extra or unexpected benefit and misleading representation. In European countries have made an unprecedented step of outlawing state loot boxes through already existing law, requiring anyone who operates a loot box type system to apply for a gambling license or remove the mechanism entirely. Some countries include Netherlands and Belgium. In response, some mobile game publishers remove the games in its entirety instead of complying with the law. In a related instance is a proposal to label all lottery games that have tickets with a warning that states, "Warning, playing a lottery game constitutes gambling and may lead to addiction and or compulsive behavior. The chances of winning a big prize are very low." The proposal will be watered down in favor will actually affect ticket sales. Will affect the amount of ticket sales. My solution to the issue will be as follows. Implement a clear warning label for any game that implements loot boxes using real money, indicating that the chance of seeing any major prize or item that a player would want would be very low. 2. Require companies to post their probability rates for all loot boxes and items featured in the game for the last 3 months. And a possible logical solution is to require any game that allows people to buy loot boxes with real cash to appoint an already established gambling authority in the United States, such as the Las Vegas Gambling Commission, for any system with the only option to get loot boxes if with real cash to regulate how they use said gambling. All this can be done through existing laws regarding unfair practice in the Federal Trade Commission through new regulations.